Welcome to the Gals Guide podcast. Join us on an adventure to get to know famous and infamous women from around the world. Each of our presenters has a pick. Is she ancient history? Is she breaking news? Is she safe for work? Well, that's up to each presenter. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Welcome back. I'm Debbie, and I'm joined by Riwu, Katie, and Bonnie sharing our equality pick. Bonnie already talked about Mary Bowser and a bunch of other names. But before we dive back in, I want to get to know something rebellious about our gal pals. I want to know, how do you think women can challenge inequality without being labeled as difficult or disruptive? Or do you think embracing those labels is part of the rebellion?
Dun, dun, dun.
I will be disruptive as shit. I do not care.
Lovely. Yeah.
I'm difficult. Too bad.
Mm-hmm. Own the label.
I like it.
I think one thing I learned from last month's book club pick, which was 9 to 5, the women's labor movement. It was written by Ellen Cassidy. She was part of the movement. Is, you know, her and the people that started the movement were fine with being disruptive. They didn't shy away from that label. But they also realized that if they were going to approach secretaries and women in professional offices, they might have to take a different approach.
Yeah.
So I think my thought is if your style is to be difficult and disruptive, embrace it, lean into it, lead the way for people that maybe don't have that approach. But knowing that we're all stronger together, so being able to also pull in people that maybe that's not their style. That's one thing I really liked about the book was they let people, you know, they opened the door, they held space, they paved the way, but they let people process through and get where they needed to get to.
Yeah.
So, and I thought that was cool how they approached it.
And dig it. I always go with if somebody labels you difficult, that means you've stood up for something in your life. And I think it's a Churchill quote. It's like if somebody called you difficult, good, that means you stood up for something once in your life. And so I take it as a badge of honor. And it's like if somebody calls me that, it's like, yes, I'm doing the right thing.
if you're standing up to an equality and they think you're being difficult,
Right. Yeah.
then that means they're fighting for not equality.
Right, exactly. They want to keep it in equality. Right, exactly. So I think it's, I think embracing it or knowing that that's part of, and also that change is ugly and it's disruptive and it's supposed to be. Yeah. So if it was happy, happy, joy, joy, it wouldn't be called change.
Yeah.
It would be just, oh, this doesn't have any, you know, it doesn't have any balance one or the other. It's just this change. It's just, same. But what about you, Debbie?
Well, actually, I asked this question because that's something I really struggle with because I am like very much a people kind of pleaser and don't like to rock the boat.
Right.
I'm tired of being that.
Right. Yes. There you go. Good. Yes. Excellent.
To quote my person, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Nice.
Which also is a quote from my grandmother because my grandmother said that for years. I was thrilled to find out that
that's where it came from.
Yeah.
Oh, I love finding an origin story.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've been studying some history things lately, and as things come up, I'm like, my grandmother was way more of a rebel than I had any idea of. It's been awesome.
She's been tuned into politics, into pop culture, into history. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So who do you have for us then?
I have Fannie Lou Hamer.
Yes! Love her.
I actually thought about doing her last year for the Farmer Gal.
Oh, yeah.
Because one of the things she did, spoiler alert, is she started the Freedom Farm Collective.
Yeah.
Freedom Farm Cooperative.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But I ultimately went with someone else. And now I'm really glad because as I've read more into her, she did so much.
Yeah.
And I think she's really awesome. She was born October 6, 1917 in Montgomery County, Mississippi. Her name was Fannie Lou Townsend at the time. Okay. She was the 20th of 20 children.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
From the same mom?
I'm just...
From the same mom and
that's-
dad.
Yeah. Oh, my
Um,
uterus just cried.
Yeah.
Even with twins and triplets,
Yeah.
that's rough.
Yeah.
Mm.
Her dad was a
Dang.
Baptist pastor.
Yep.
And mom was
Fertile.
busy popping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very fertile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In between all that, though, they were sharecroppers.
I gotcha.
And so mama, in between birthing 20 babies, was picking cotton.
Gotcha.
And Fannie Lou started doing her share of picking cotton at 6.
At 6.
6. She also
yeah.
started school at the same time. They had a little one-room schoolhouse that they allowed the sharecroppers to go to school,
Right.
their children. Briefly, she had to quit school at 12
Oh, gotcha.
because she had to start making
Working.
her quotas.
Yeah.
At some point in her childhood, I don't know when, but at some point she had polio.
Oh, gotcha.
Mm.
Yeah.
Had to keep picking cotton.
Ha!
And she
Wow.
was picking 200 to 300 pounds of cotton daily.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, this girl was moving.
Hard work.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And she did that clear up until she got married.
Gotcha.
Most people know about her husband, Perry Pap Hamer. He was the second husband.
Oh,
I did
okay.
not know that. Very few people do. She never talked about it publicly.
Ah.
But she got married at age 20 to a man named Charlie Gray. He filed for divorce in 1943 because she, to quote, took up with another man, deserted me without any cause, and is now living in adultery with another man.
Oh.
That man was Pap Hamer. That was the love of her life. When she met him, it was all she wrote.
Right.
And as soon as the divorce was final, within a couple months, they were married, and until the day she died.
Gotcha. There you go. Yeah.
I feel like there's more of a backstory there.
Yeah, there
I
is.
feel like maybe he was stepping out first,
Right.
and then but when she does it, there's a problem.
Yeah, and even on the family website, there's no information about how good or bad that first marriage was.
Yep.
Right.
But they're
It's
pretty sure it probably
happened,
wasn't. Yeah,
We don't
Yeah.
talk about Bruno.
Yeah.
yeah. So, so she moved from one plantation to another,
Gotcha.
where Pap was working, but she wasn't picking cotton anymore. The new plantation owner said, "Oh, you can read and write,"
Oh.
and she became the timekeeper.
Oh, interesting.
So she got to actually do stuff. She was the only
Right.
worker he had who was literate. So he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna put her to work."
Gotcha.
She and Pap wanted kids, and they tried, but she'd had at least 2 miscarriages.
Oh, yeah.
So they adopted 2 girls who were actually family members of Fannie Lou.
Oh, gotcha.
And then one of those girls, one of those daughters, died, and she ended up adopting her 2 girls as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Side note, mom died because of Fannie Lou Hamer's activism.
Oh.
They refused to admit her daughter into the hospital.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
Because
How
of the color of her
heartbreaking.
skin?
and because of who her mother was.
Oh,
Literally
It was
because
a
of,
punishment to the
Yeah.
mom, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha,
Yeah, like how can we get back at you because we don't like
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah.
Now they also, sorry.
No, you're good.
They also part-time raised Pap's daughter, Lenny, who was born in 1950.
Oh,
Do the math.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they'd already been married.
Okay.
So we know he cheated on her at least once. She didn't care.
Wow.
She's always
Yeah.
spoke very highly of Lenny. She lived with her sometimes. And she was just part of the family.
Nice.
She developed a tumor in 1961, went for a tumor removal, and while she was there, the white doctor also performed a hysterectomy.
Oh,
Yeah.
Without her
What the
consent. She
fuck?
was furious.
Yeah.
Man.
She found out that in Sunflower County, where she lived, 3/5 of black women from Sunflower County had these
Procedures.
Yes.
procedures.
Mm.
And Fannie ended up calling them, and the term stuck, Mississippi appendectomy.
There you go.
She's the one that coined the phrase, and she was
Wow.
pissed.
Yeah, as
Um,
you should be. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, side note, that still was happening in the 21st century. That's
Yeah.
not.
Right.
Yeah.
Still happen, and then a lot of times they weren't even giving them any anesthesia.
No.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
colored people don't feel pain.
Right. I mean, when you're already being a monster
Yeah.
and lack empathy for another human being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still going on today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
great.
that kind of galvanized her.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah, as it should. Yeah.
She'd been attending Regional Council of Negro Leadership stuff, for 10 years. But when this happened, she's like, nope, no more.
She found her hill.
She found her hill.
Mhm.
Nice.
And she started attending SNCC movements. It's
Oh,
student,
SNCC. Yeah, yeah.
SNCC.
Yeah.
Yes.
Student Nonviolent
John
Coordinating
Lewis.
Committee.
Yes.
In 1962, she found out for the first time. Now, mind you, she was born in 1917, so she's
Yeah.
45.
Mhm.
Finds out for the first time, hey, black people are allowed to vote.
Mhm.
Oh.
She'd never, ever heard that.
That was kept from her. Yeah.
Technically.
Right.
Yeah.
Technically,
Still
they
a
could
struggle.
vote.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, so that got her started. She joined SNCC as an organizer,
Sweet.
and on August 31, 1962, she took 17 volunteers to register to vote at the courthouse.
Yay!
They got turned away because they could not pass this asinine
Right.
literacy test.
Yeah.
Um,
Which was designed for nobody to be able to pass.
Right.
So, yeah.
yeah, she could read, write, do
Mhm.
math. She was doing all this stuff, but she
Mhm.
couldn't pass it. And then on the way home, the bus got stopped and the police fined them $100 because the bus was too yellow.
The bus was
The bus
too
was
yellow.
too yellow.
Wow.
Then she gets home. By the time she gets home, the plantation owner where she lives found out that she'd tried to register to vote.
Right.
He said, no, you can't do that. Withdraw your application. Because she was planning to go back and try again.
Yeah.
And he said, withdraw your application. She said no. He fired her on the spot and ordered her off the property.
Wow.
Now, he also fired Pap. But he said, but you can't leave until after the harvest.
Oh, convenience.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For him.
So,
Excuse me, sir. Fired means I leave now.
Right, exactly.
well, she...
I'm not working on your farm no more.
Yeah, well, he could not.
Hmm.
She had to leave.
Yeah.
She was in danger,
Yeah.
as it turns out.
Yeah. From multiple sources, it
Yeah.
sounds like. Yeah.
So, yeah, in September, she was hiding out in someone's house.
Mhm.
Somebody took either 16 or 20 pot shots through the window,
Oh.
like a foot over their heads
Yeesh.
in this house. I mean, it
Yeah.
was just like,
It's a lucky that
Yeah.
they made it. Yeah.
yeah. But she did try to pass the literacy test again. She got it on the third try.
Gotcha.
She got all excited.
Yes.
That fall, she shows up to vote.
Mhm.
Oh, no, you can't vote.
Mhm.
You don't have 2 poll tax receipts.
Right. There's
So-
always something else
Yeah.
to stop you from voting.
So she
Yeah.
got them eventually, but,
Yeah.
not that day. So after the harvest, Pap also had to leave.
Right.
They were renting a house from the sharecropper because that's what you did.
Yeah.
It's basically legalized slavery.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the owner, for the trouble, took their car away,
Oh.
took most of their stuff. So they're starting over with almost nothing.
Right.
So she starts working as a SNCC field secretary, and she's going all through the South, encouraging blacks to vote.
Yeah.
And there's a quote from that time. She said, I guess if I'd had any sense, I'd have been a little scared. But what was the point of being scared? The only thing they could do was kill me. And it kind of seemed like they'd been trying to do that a little bit of time since I could remember.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
Because the next year, in 1863, she and others had gone to South Carolina, and they're on their way back. And there was it was a mess. She got arrested, but that's the short version.
Right.
There's all kinds of mess. They get to jail, and they kept Fannie separate. They beat the other two senseless. One woman was unable to speak afterwards.
Oh.
There was a 15-year-old girl named June Johnson who
Aw.
was also beaten so badly that,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then Fannie, they took into a cell. They forced 2 inmates to beat her with a baton. Meanwhile, they're groping her repeatedly. They lift her dress up over her shoulders when she tried to resist and just left her exposed while this kept going on.
Right.
She screamed. She started screaming and everything like that. And then just left her there. The next day, somebody from SNCC came and tried to help.
Yeah.
They beat him.
Right.
Just for showing up and not being respectful enough.
Of course.
Not that that sounds anything like anything going on these days.
Right.
It took him 3 days to get out of prison. It took her a month to recuperate, and she never fully recovered.
Yeah.
She had permanent kidney damage. She had a blood clot under her eye.
Which left her partially blind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she responded by going back to Mississippi and kept working, which makes what happened next even more remarkable. In 1964, she, along with 4 others, co-founded the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. And their tagline was open to all, without regard to race. It was a political party designed to simultaneously encourage Black political participation while challenging the validity of Mississippi's lily-white Democratic Party.
Yes.
Their plan was to go to the convention and say Mississippi's electors aren't valid because they were segregated. The first thing they did was they ran the Freedom Summer Project in 1964. It was designed to help Black voters register. They went out, they got the vote, they did everything they could. They had singers, they did rallies. 17,000 Black voters tried to register. 1,200 of them were successful.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
it.
Yeah.
Workers were beaten. There were homes burned and churches burned. 3 volunteers disappeared in June. And they didn't find, and everybody was saying, it's a hoax.
Yeah.
They did find them
Okay.
in August. They found their bodies in August, right before the convention. And literally one of those boys got buried like the day of the convention. It was just
Gotcha.
yeah. Oh, it was a mess.
It's a heated moment. Yeah.
But one thing they did do, they didn't require literacy tests and all that stupid things. All they said was, if you care about everybody voting, then join.
Yeah.
By August, they had 80,000 members.
Oh, nice.
So they held this big state convention and elected Fannie and 7 other people to go to the National Democratic Convention.
Nice.
And then they got there and they challenged the regular Democratic Party for the state seats. They said they were segregated and it violated federal law, party regulations, and it was going through the credentials committee that was televised.
Yeah.
Fannie gave a speech talking about growing up sharecroppers and everything like that.
She told her story.
She told her story. And it was so powerful that all of a sudden Johnson scheduled a press conference to interrupt her. But they televised it that evening anyway.
Yeah.
And a bunch of people got behind him. At this time, remember, these bodies had just been found. People were all in an uproar. It looked like the MFDP was going to win. Johnson panicked. Because it wasn't just Mississippi that threatened to walk.
Right.
It was a bunch of multiple white delegations from the southern states threatened to leave not only the convention, but the party. Johnson panicked. He stopped the hearing. He said, we'll go talk to them. Right. And they offered a compromise. They offered them 2 at-large seats, which means you can, they're non-voting. Right. You can watch. You just can't do anything.
You have no power whatsoever.
Yeah. Fannie's response, we didn't come all this way for 2 seats because all of us is tired.
Yep. There you go.
So
I love it.
They ended up leaving because somebody else offered another compromise, said, some of each.
Sure.
And the party rejected it, said, nope, not going to happen. So the white stayed and they for the convention, and they're the ones. However, kind of backfired on Johnson because without the Black vote, he actually lost in Mississippi. And Since then, Mississippi has never, ever voted for a Democratic candidate except Jimmy Carter in 1976.
Ah.
Not in 80, but
Gotcha.
in 1976.
Right.
Never, ever again.
Ah.
Now, at the same time she's doing all this, she also tried to run for the Mississippi House of Representatives.
Mhm.
But she got banned from that.
Sure.
So,
right.
you
But
know.
it's still noble to try and to see. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's inspirational. Yeah.
Then in 1865, they went to Washington, she and two other women, Victoria Gray and Annie Devine, to protest the Mississippi state election. It was unsuccessful, but those three women are still the first black women to stand in U.S. Congress.
Ah.
So, and they did make a difference. Because of that, Johnson signed the Voting Act of 1965.
Mhm.
And by 1968, Mississippi had their first integrated delegation, and Fannie was one of them.
Awesome.
Look at
So-
that. Long road to it.
Yeah.
But an important one. Yeah.
Yeah, she kept speaking, but she also was ridiculed. She didn't look the part. She wasn't tall or thin or rich or
Right.
beautiful. She had this deep accent. She had no formal education. There was a suggestion that she speak during the convention, even though she wasn't, as part of the compromise.
Mhm.
And Hubert Humphrey, who was one of the candidates for vice president,
Gotcha.
but he said, the president will not allow that illiterate woman to speak from the floor of this convention.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
You know not what
Not
you
mad at all.
speak.
Yeah.
Yep.
In 1964, she did receive an honorary degree from Tougaloo College in 1964.
Oh, nice.
But some of the black intellectuals were ticked off because she doesn't have a real education. She's
Right.
unlettered. She shouldn't get that.
Right.
But she
But
did.
she speaks truth to power.
Yeah. And she did
Mhm.
all her speeches from memory.
Nice.
I was listening to several of them. Some of them are on YouTube, and I was listening to some of them, and two different speeches, but she's giving the same thing to two different people.
Mhm.
They're verbatim.
Oh, nice.
So she
knows
had these
what she's saying
memorized,
and- yeah.
and I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
I show up to speak, and I've got like three sets of notes and everything.
It's different every time.
Yeah.
No worries.
She also sang. She sometimes sang with the Freedom Singers, which was the group that worked with SNCC
Gotcha.
at the rallies and stuff like that.
yeah.
And she was pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard her.
Mhm.
She also did an album that's songs my mother taught me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Her most famous speech is called "Sick and Tired of Being Sick and Tired."
Mhm.
It was done at Williams Institutional Church in Harlem on December 20 in 1964. She also worked on some other projects over the years. She worked on Martin Luther King Jr.'s Poor People's Campaign. Head Start was just starting up, and she was starting to get some of those programs going.
Sweet.
She was attending SNCC workshops and Southern Christian leadership conferences, and even taught some classes there.
Gotcha.
But she kind of soured
Gotcha.
on politics. It just really left her.
Beats you down.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in 1971, she did co-found the National Women's Political Caucus,
Nice.
emphasized the power women could hold by acting as a voting majority in the county, regardless of race or ethnicity,
yeah.
saying, a white mother is no different from a black mother. The only thing they haven't had is many problems, but we cry the same tears.
Oh, I like that solidarity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then came the Freedom Farm Cooperative. She started that in 1969,
Gotcha.
and it was awesome. And her, again, I have another quote from her. The time has come when we are going to have to get what we need ourselves. We may get a little help here and there, but in the main, we're going to have to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And so she got a $10,000 grant from Measure for Measure, which is a charitable organization in Wisconsin.
Mhm.
And she bought 40 acres of land.
Ah.
And she set it up
40
as
acres.
a cooperative.
Yeah.
They had a cost to join of $1 a month. But if you couldn't afford to pay that, You could join like in name only.
Yeah, yeah.
They grew corn and soybeans as cash crops to pay for taxes and admin and stuff like that, and the rest of it they
lived off of, or
they grew vegetables.
Yeah,
and the cooperative, the ones who paid into the cooperative, got a portion of them. You could also get some by working on the farm.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you didn't have the money, you could put in some work, and then 10% of that they saved to give to people who couldn't do either.
Yeah, yeah.
So that they could help everybody.
Just for the sake of community, yeah.
And she also, in 1972, she also purchased, they did so well the first year, they bought 640 more acres.
Oh,
massively expanded.
Dang.
Yeah.
At one point, it was the largest employer in Sunflower County.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It sounds like it took up all of Sunflower County.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. They also started a pig bank.
Okay.
They had money from the National Council of Negro Women, and they bought 35 gilts and 5 boars. Gilts are female pigs.
Okay, gotcha, okay. Gotcha.
And then 5 boars are the males. They produced 2,000 pigs over the time.
Yeah.
What they do is you'd borrow a pig, air quotes. They give you a pig. You'd take it home. You'd raise it. They'd have piglets. Then you slaughter the original pig that you get.
Oh, yeah. But then you have piglets.
Now you got food. You kept the piglets, but you took piglet back to the bank.
Gotcha.
So you returned one, and then somebody else could have it.
Right.
And so they helped all these families with this. And her quote about that was, "There's nothing better than get up in the morning and have a huge slice of ham and a couple of biscuits and some butter. I wouldn't take nothing for our golden pigs."
There you go. I mean, I do like me some bacon.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't tell you how many of my friends have said, "Yeah, I am a vegetarian, but I eat bacon."
I know. I know.
I may be one of them.
Right.
Yeah. And they offered other services. They expanded. They started doing financial counseling. They started a scholarship fund and a housing agency. They helped secure 35 federal housing authority loans for houses for people, because a lot of the people that worked there were sharecroppers who had lost their jobs because you voted, you registered to vote,
or any other reason,
reason they could. And so they helped them get homes. Nice. Fannie also got one as well.
Nice.
So, and use that as inspiration, because she'd come from nothing. They'd had to start over as nothing, and she had this
taken from her over and over again.
Kind of sounds like she thought politics was the path to use to get to make things better for people, and then she realized what a crock of shit it was, and was like, I can do this myself. Yeah, I can build community. I can help communities. I can be hands-on and get it done. Yeah, sounds like she did it good.
Yeah, exactly.
She did. Yeah. Unfortunately, the weather had other things. In 1972 and 1973, floods and tornadoes destroyed the crops. Oh. They couldn't pay their taxes. So they started struggling. Yeah. And then the economy was kind of tanking at the same time. So some of their funders pulled out. Right. And then Fannie's health started getting bad. She'd always had trouble. And then she just started feeling really frail. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1976. Oh, yeah. And the cooperative closed the same year.
Oh, bad year. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And but the thing about the Freedom Farm Cooperative, even though it didn't last long, it started a legacy. Yeah. And there are programs today, like the Freedom Farmers Market in Oakland, California, Detroit Black Community Food Security Network, and St. Louis has a Rustic Roots Sanctuary, and that's modern Black food justice initiatives.
And the Panthers also were very part of the cooperative and getting food in any which way that they could, especially from Black farmers as well.
Oh, yeah.
To bring it to the inner city community. Yeah. So, yeah.
Also to protesters. Yeah. Like the ADA protest and all that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, one of her quotes during that time was, "Give us food and it will be gone tomorrow. Give us land and the tools to work it, and we will feed ourselves forever."
Exactly. I mean, that sounds like Bonnie's resistant grow.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Love it.
If I have to survive this summer on what I grow, we're going to be very thin come fall.
And a little bit hangry.
Yeah.
Could happen.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you need a pig for the pig bank.
Yeah, this is true.
I'll tell my vegan husband, we'll just get a
absolutely.
pig from the pig
But a pig
bank.
will fix it.
Yeah. Sorry, babe. I killed our veggies, but we got a hog.
I got a great recipe for lentil burgers. You can do that.
There you go.
Unfortunately, the breast cancer that she was diagnosed with killed her quickly. She died in 1977.
Oh, gotcha.
She was 59.
Yeah, that's still young.
Yeah, she was young.
So young.
But she left a legacy.
Yeah.
She wrote an autobiography.
Oh,
in
okay.
1967 called "To Praise Our Bridges." I found it online. I couldn't.
Gotcha.
I had a hard time finding it in print, but I found it online.
Okay.
There's also a movie about her that I found on YouTube called Fannie Lou Hamer's America.
Nice.
On
It's a documentary, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I think I've watched that one, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
For some odd reason, I was thinking it was a reenactment movie. I'm like, I wonder who played her.
Yeah. It's funny. I only saw reference to that one honorary degree,
Yeah.
but I was listening to one of her speeches, and in the introduction, he said she had 10 honorary degrees.
Oh, nice.
So I guess I did hear about a couple others.
Gotcha.
I do know that she received a Doctor of Law from Shaw University
Aw.
and an honorary degree from Columbia College Chicago in 1970
Yeah.
and Howard University in 1972.
Sweet.
On the 100th anniversary of her birth in October 2, 2017, there was a moment of silence in Congress, and
Aw.
the speech, and I'm blanking on her name, I forgot to write it down, was a representative in Texas
Gotcha.
who gave this amazing speech about her.
Aw.
And we'll
It's not
put it in the show
Maxine-
notes.
Okay, it's not Maxine Waters, is it?
No, it's not Maxine Waters.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
California. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in 1993. She was given. She was an honorary member of Delta Sigma Theta. Oh, it was Sheila Jackson Lee. I did write the name down. I just wrote it down somewhere
okay.
else.
Sheila Jackson Lee.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
From Congress. Yeah, it's from Texas. And then on January 4th, 2025, President Joe Biden awarded Hamer the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously.
Very nice. Yeah, exactly.
So, if you ever think I'm just one person, I can't make a difference.
you can make
Hell
a
yeah, you
difference.
can.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, she was amazing.
I'm glad you shared her with us.
Yeah.
Yay! I love it. I love it. Makes me want to listen to some of her speeches. So I'll put some speeches in the
Yeah.
show notes because, yeah, she just had that vibrato when she
Yeah.
talked.
She really did.
listened.
I was looking at pictures of her on my phone when you were talking because I needed
Yeah.
that visual to go with
Yeah.
who are we talking about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And also some of her music. She just singing.
Yeah. That I didn't know. So, yeah.
That was like one of her legacies was known about that. And there was another quote that somebody talked about her and said she was a really good cook and she knew just the right spice to use.
Nice.
Said, and she talked the same way.
Yeah.
So it was
Knew
very
just
cool.
the right words to use.
Yeah.
Just the right spice to put in your
And
your delivery.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I can cook with spices, but I have no fucking idea what to say to people. I don't know.
All you need to say is just eat it. It's gonna be good.
Oh,
I like
I can
it.
say that. I can hover and be like, any feedback? Let me tell you how I would improve it. But,
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
Right.
and more
yes.
of the inspirational or let's band together. I'm like,
Yeah.
anyway.
So
Totally
does anybody
fair.
have any questions?
I think it's just
Yours
amazing. Yeah.
Shared a lot of great information
Yeah.
about her.
Yeah.
Great job researching.
Painted
Thank
a
you.
beautiful picture of a
Yeah.
wonderful woman.
Yeah.
I'm just so glad that she's one of the ones that like fought so hard for the vote and actually got to vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
so
true.
many
yeah.
that did
That's a
not
good
make
point.
it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the funny thing is I left out a ton. I started going down rabbit holes. And I'm like, nope, can't do that.
Exactly.
Can't do that.
Well, we encourage people that, if you are motivated by this, go down those rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Watch those documentaries, watch those videos, read more books, and explore more and more.
It's really profound, too, how much she physically suffered.
Yeah, she did.
For what she was fighting so hard for.
Yeah.
So talk about committed.
Yeah.
And dedicated.
She
Very
really
cool.
was.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's so weird
not
because
cool that she was beaten, but go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool that she persevered. But go
it's still an inspiration.
Don't say the words, Debbie. Just take it home.
Yeah, and this really hit me hard because I'm listening to one of her speeches from 1976, and I remember that. I was 13, graduating 8th grade, and I remember this as a year of possibilities and freedom and all it's excited, and we all wore little bonnets and colonial dresses for our graduation, and it was so awesome.
Bonnie's face. We might need to talk about this later.
Yeah, it was weird.
And then I'm listening to her version of 1976, and I'm like, oh, damn.
Mm-hmm.
This ain't,
Are we living at the same time?
Right.
Yeah.
Is this for like bicentennial stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was bicentennial. And,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't
She's
know
good
if
now.
this was like school specific or.
Yeah, no,
Right.
I was in church school and
Ah.
I
They
learned.
like the robes and bonnets.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking about it a few years ago, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't remember any of this. And then I realized I was in school in 1970. This wasn't history.
Right.
So I didn't
this
learn
was
it as
happening.
history.
This was current events.
You were probably pretty sheltered from it during that time. Yeah.
We didn't talk about any of this.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on. I had no clue.
Mm-hmm.
I start reading and I'm like, why didn't you tell me this when I was in school? Why didn't you tell me what to read?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
the thing that goes around that's like the people who grew up with Ruby Bridges or were trying to prevent Ruby Bridges from going to school
Right.
Yeah.
are the ones trying to keep you from learning about Ruby Bridges.
Right.
Ruby Bridges is still alive.
Exactly. She's my
Right.
mom's age. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. It is interesting.
I'm as mad as I am about what happened to me in 1970. I'm even madder about people now trying to do the same
Right.
thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because now it is history.
We should know
Don't
better.
take it out of the books.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. This is very true. Well, on that rebellious note, that fierce, fierce rebellion, which I just adore, do you want to wrap us up?
Yes.
Sweet.
Well, that wraps it up for this week. Join us next week as another Equality Gal is picked to share as Gal's Guide podcast continues. Thanks for listening.
Want to learn about more women of history? Gal's Guide opened a unique women's history lending library. Come visit and explore our collection. Learn more at galsguide.org. Thanks for listening.